So there was a report from YouGov. There was a survey taken of Americans between November 24th and November 28th by YouGov.com. Here are the questions to that survey, and we've got some stuff that we have to talk about because I am. Would it be an understatement to say I am concerned about America? I think that would be an understatement. All right. So in general, the conversation was about the survey was about trust and who do Americans trust? Do they actually trust Donald Trump? Even when it's shown that Donald Trump is lying? Or do they trust Donald Trump even when it shows that Donald Trump is, even when the media is proving him to be factually wrong? Maybe he wasn't actually trying to lie, but he was just factually wrong. So here are the questions. Do you think presidential candidates do or do not have a responsibility to regularly answer questions from the media? The first question, softball. Yes, they do. 68% of Americans say yes. Presidential candidates do have a responsibility to answer questions from the media. All right. 18% say they don't. 14% said they're not sure. Donald Trump's last press conference was July 27th, but we'll let him slide on that for now. The next question was, in general, do you think the media coverage of Donald Trump has been too positive? 17% of the people say it's been too positive. 41% say that it's been too negative. 23% say that it's about right, and 19% say that it's they're not sure. Here's the question in question. If a national media outlet reported that Donald Trump said something that was untrue, would you be more inclined to believe Donald Trump, the media, depends on the story, and not sure? 19% straight out said that they would trust Donald Trump. 21% said that they would trust the media outlet. 45% said they're not sure. Or I'm sorry, 45% said that it depends on the story. Here's the question again. If a national media outlet reported that Donald Trump said something that was untrue, would you be more inclined to believe Trump, the media, or it depends on the story? Between depends on the story and Donald Trump, it was about, 64%. 64% either said it depends on the story or they're going to trust Donald Trump. The problem is in the question, right? The reason it's worth discussing is because of how the question was framed. The question already said the media has reported that Donald Trump said something that was untrue. And 45% of Americans said, well, wait. It depends on what the story is. Why does the question said it was untrue? Why would it depend on what the story is? Is it more believable if it's a story about, I don't know, Donald Trump's illicit affairs or Donald Trump's foreign policy? Or, which category are you going to trust Donald Trump more than the media when the media has said that this is something that is untrue? Like, factually untrue. Do we realize that we are at a point where facts are no longer facts, where everything is subjective, even something that is an objective reality? Like, we have objectively seen Donald Trump lie and say things that were untrue. And 45% of Americans say, wait a minute. It depends on what the story is, whether or not it's actually untrue. I think this is just as much an indictment of the media as it is of Donald Trump. But if it's an indictment of Donald Trump, it's an indictment of the media. It sure as hell is an indictment of America. The problem is we don't have anyone that we all can agree is an unbiased source. It's even worse than that. We don't have a standard body of facts that we can all agree this is the reality. This is what is factual. Because when you say it depends on the story, you're saying that whether or not something is factually true depends on your take on the story, or your perception of the story, or your position on the story. And I'm quite sure it's very similar for Hillary Clinton. I'm quite sure we're going to see this type of paradigm that's very similar to Barack Obama, because we've discussed this, is that Americans and people in general would prefer confirmation bias versus fact. We desire to hear something that confirms what we already believe. We don't want to hear something that contradicts. We don't want to know that our favorite politician is a lying piece of shit. We don't want that. We don't want to know that President Obama has been bombing 7 Muslim nations throughout his entire presidency. Give or take which year. We don't want to know that. We don't want the objective facts. We want something that's going to confirm our biases, and something that's going to give us the tools we need to fight back against our political rivals, even if that means dismissing a body of facts. So it's an indictment against the media, because the media has lost its credibility and their ability to present facts. And because I think it's actually a worse problem than that, because they have tried so hard over the last 8 years or so, probably more, to seem and appear unbiased, that they have themselves undermined what is factual, right? Because they don't want to challenge, say, Ted Cruz in a conversation about climate change. They don't want to be rude. They don't want to seem like they fall on any side of the equation. They want to seem like they're unbiased, so they don't challenge Ted Cruz. I'm talking specifically about a story from NPR where they allow Ted Cruz to talk about the fact that his mother was a scientist. That gives him the right to reject NASA's data on climate. I'm not exaggerating. Look it up. It was Steve Inskeep, Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz got to cite the fact that his mother was a scientist, and that gave him the ability to reject NASA's climate data. And NPR, instead of hammering him, instead of slamming down facts, tangible facts, and unpacking how fallacious it was for him to even posit that, instead of doing that, they tried to be as unbiased as they possibly could, which makes facts a wash, makes any notion of truth such as it exists, they make it a wash. And so this is how you get, and it's not just Donald Trump again, but it only really matters for Donald Trump because he's the incoming president. And we'll talk about this in a second, right? People keep using, oh, well, George Bush did this, Obama did that, Hillary did this, so let's not talk about Trump. No, that's dumb as hell. This absolutely matters, and it matters in the sense that Donald Trump has this grace period, this margin of error, rather, of 45%, where people say it depends on the story whether or not we're going to believe Trump. When the question clearly states if they reported that he said something untrue. We are in a post-fact society. We're in a post-objective reality society where the only thing that matters is your position on a particular issue, and that determines whether or not you believe it.